I recently got asked to speak on the Law Firm Growth Summit. So if you're a lawyer, I would encourage you to go check that out. Or if you're in the law firm industry, go check that out. It's by Moshe Amsel. He is an old client. I actually helped set up the very first Law Firm Growth Summit, I think 4 or 5 years ago now, and he's turned it into a great business. But if you're not a lawyer, the content was still amazing. And the context is towards law firms, but it's relevant for everybody if you want to understand your customer better so that you can speak to them more effectively in your marketing so that you can achieve lower cost per leads and really onboard those customers to become true fans of your brand and ultimately become customers, because that's what it's all about. So stick around, let's begin. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the importance of emotional triggers when you are planning your marketing or sales campaigns with your team or with your agencies, so that we can make sure that we are appealing to our potential clients' emotional pain points and triggers and motivators so that they can make a much easier decision to work with you, to become a client. And at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a tool that is inside OpenAI's GPTs that you can use this GPT and build out an entire report that you can hand off to your marketing team or hand off to your sales team to use for each campaign that you put together. And I'll even work through and workshop with you in this particular presentation, a campaign that potentially you may come across as well. So let's dive in. Now, before I begin, if you don't know me yet, my name is Mitch Asa. And fun little fact is that I actually helped Moshe with his very first Law Firm Growth Virtual Summit a few years ago now. We put it together in record time, and it's amazing to see what he has turned that into just a few short years later. For me personally, I've been running virtual summits for more than 8 years now. I've been behind 50, 60 virtual summits. I've had multiple brands in that space, sold a few companies. And then this year, I've gone really deep into how can we use these AI models and automations in a much more sophisticated way than just jumping on ChatGPT and adding a few little prompts. And honestly, I've been amazed at what I've been able to figure out. What I realize is that most people are not using these tools in the most effective way possible. And because of that, everybody just kind of looks the same. Whether you're creating something for a law firm or an ice cream shop, somehow ChatGPT, when used incorrectly, has made it all sound the same. So what I've been obsessed with this year is figuring out how can we use this in a much more effective way. So I have two intentions really for you. First, I'm going to show you the process and how I go about planning different marketing campaigns for my own brands and then also for the clients that I've worked with. But the secret intention here is also to inspire your own process. Now, I'm going to give you my thought process behind how I created all of this and why I'm doing this and why do we bother doing all of this up front. But also, I'm going to show you how much faster it can allow us to create these campaigns so that your team is 2, 3, 4, 5x more productive than what they are right now. But also, I want you to think about, okay, this is just a simple example for marketing or sales campaigns. Where else in your business are you doing these planning and strategy sessions with your team and setting them on their way to do all of this type of work manually, where in fact, if we were to just process it a little bit more or systemize it a little bit more, that the team could just fill in an application form or a strategy form, and then we feed it through these automations and these AI tools in order to produce the reports that were once manually done. That's the secret intention there, so I hope you think about this in two ways. But first I want to dive into this, which is why is this more important now than ever before? And we're talking about things here like understanding your customer. So we want to be looking at identifying and understanding customer pain points, motivations, and needs. Why is that important? Or educating the customer. Why has education become so much more important now? So through understanding the customer to inform and educate them effectively about the solutions that address their specific issues. And then building trust. So through that education, we are building trust. Customers begin to trust the brand. They acknowledge you as a reliable source, and then some of them will want to work with you. And then enhancing brand reputation. This is the cycle that we have to go through with business now, which is the question is why? Why has this become more important than ever before? And there's multiple reasons. The first reason is competition. Oops, forgive my handwriting as well, because I'm left-handed firstly, and secondly, I'm just terrible at writing, but you get the point. Competition. There's so much competition out there now, more than ever before. There's more and more people starting their own businesses because the barrier to entry is so little compared to what it once was. At least if you're a law firm, there is a much bigger barrier than some industries where you need to be fully licensed and so forth. So that's one reason. The second reason is buyers are now much more sophisticated. So people can log on to Google or log into ChatGPT and research a lot of what you would actually do yourself as a law firm and solving these particular problems for our clients. If you've been in the game for a long time, I imagine 10 years ago, the questions that you were answering back then were much more simple than the ones that they were today. So our buyers are much more sophisticated. When the buyer's sophistication increases, then the way that we present and show our brand actually needs to increase as well. Otherwise, we're just going to look like everybody else that's out there. The other reason is to show expertise. So again, like, people are now numb to advertising. And what I mean by that is everybody has seen an advertisement that promised the world and didn't deliver. So people are much more skeptical is probably a better word to actually explain it. So they wanted to be able to see your expertise first before they engage with you. And that is more important now than ever before. But also when it comes to education, and we mentioned it up there as well, which is trust, especially as the younger generations are coming through, people are looking towards content creators in order to build trust with a brand. The times of having faithless brands where the founder or the leader of that brand stay behind the scenes, nobody really knows about them, they're starting to disappear now. So if we can focus on all of these things up here, which is understanding the customer, educating the customer, building that trust, and then which then enhances the brand reputation, and then continuing to cycle through that, then that's how you're going to stand out above the crowd. That's how you're going to attract clients into your world, rather than just relying on referrals or going out there and doing it the hard way by really aggressive marketing tactics. And to back all this up with some stats, back in 2011, Google actually put together a report which was called the 7-11-4 rule. Now, what is the 7-11-4 rule? Basically, it's 7 hours of contact with your brand before they make a decision across 11 different touch points in 4 locations. So that could be 7 hours of blog posts that they read, which would be a lot of reading, or it could be 7 hours of social media posts, which is a lot of social media posts, or it's the best way to do it is a mix of many different things. So you might have your social media posts at the very top of attracting people in different ways. Then you might move them to an article, blog posts, and then you might get them to download a template on your website for more information. And maybe you then have a YouTube channel where you put out a video each week and you're solving your customers' pain points in that video, or at least giving them some generalized advice that helps them alleviate some of their concerns and their skepticism. So if you could focus on doing that, then there's some hard data from Google that talk about these types of things. Also inside that would also be your sales call. So you're probably meeting with a client for an hour before that you actually get them to engage with you. So that would also be included in that time. But this is I wouldn't call it a rule. I would call it a guideline. It doesn't always happen like this. If somebody's in a lot of pain, then of course they're going to come in and buy something from you straight away. But kind of gives us a bit of an understanding and a framework of what's behind, from a study from Google of how customers are actually reacting and purchasing from different brands. And also keep in mind, I said that was in 2011. It's probably changed now because there's so much more competition that the certain touch points have to be very specific for people to actually make that decision as well. So then we're talking about what to create. I kind of mentioned it up there, which is you've got your social media content, which could be posts or reels, and they kind of need to be kept very basic, very simplified, and appealing for as big an audience as possible. Then you might move them to a YouTube video or a blog, and that can be a little bit more in depth. And then on your website, you might want to have templates. I think one of the main things that you would deal with would be shareholders agreement, right? So you would have potentially a template for someone to download a shareholders agreement for free, which is a free lead magnet to get them into your world so you can communicate with them. They get that for free as a generalized one. It's not legally binding, but it's a generalized thing that if they want to do it themselves, they can do it. But then you would have another option where you could say, if you want proper legally binding stuff, then come to us, we'll do the shareholder agreement for you. And then you get that person as a client, you can upsell them into other particular services as well. So I want to give you an example of how we can actually focus on the right things when we are putting together this content. Like I was, to tie everything together so far, we're talking about the processes of how can we appeal to the emotions and the pain points that people are feeling. And we're going to do that through understanding first and foremost, which is what this next part is going to be about. Like, how can we really understand our customer? Then we want to educate them, build trust, and then that's going to enhance the brand. And we can do that with different things like social media posts, reels, YouTube posts, blog posts, templates. We can do that even with advertising. So you're probably running Google ads and other types of advertising. We could also do that with strategic partnerships where you're creating something of high value to send out to a strategic partner to get them to promote your brand as well. So let's dive into that now. We're going to dive into what I call the emotional triggers report, and we're going to dive into the ChatGPT platform, and I'll show you where this tool is, and I'll even give you the tool to use yourself if you wish. So here we are in the ChatGPT platform. Now, currently GPTs are only available to those who are paying for the subscription with OpenAI. However, I do recommend paying for it. You get way better models that produce way better results. And it's only like $20 a month. So not a huge expense, but a very big return in order for that expense. And once you come into the customer insight report, which I'll send you the link, is you just need to click here to begin with the first step. And basically what this is going to do is ask us a bunch of questions that we need to answer so that it can then create a report of the pain points toward and away from motivators and other things we need to be thinking about when we are putting together our marketing or even sales campaigns as well. Marketing is simply attracting people because of their pain points, and sales is then selling them because of their pain points. So at each time of the customer journey, we want to make sure that we're appealing to that. So you'll be able to implement this into multiple parts of the process. So what is the campaign name? We're going to be talking about the example I had here, and forgive me if I get any of this wrong. I've not worked with any law firms, but I did a little bit of research to see what some of the main things were. The top one I saw was shareholders agreements, which is fairly simple. Like I gave you that example already. The other one was estate planning. So let's call this campaign name estate planning for template, or estate planning cheat sheet. That's what we're going to put together, is an estate planning cheat sheet, which is we're going to put together this PDF that people can download and they can get started on their estate planning. And then hopefully once they're ready to put that into a legal binding document, then they'll come to you. Great. So now describe how this helps our clients. So what problems do you solve? What unique solutions do you offer? So we help people plan their estate. We help people with estate planning. We are creating a cheat sheet that will be used on the website to generate leads. This will be a free PDF and will include a free consult valued at, let's call it $200. So our ideal customer, and this would be, you would know your customer better than anybody else. Ideal customer is someone who is just beginning to think about estate planning. They have lots of questions. They don't really know where to begin. They are nervous to speak about it with their own family and would like professional advice. Now, please describe the core elements of your brand. So what are your brand values, vision, and mission? How do you differentiate from your competitors? We are the specialist for estate planning. We are a family-owned law firm and are great at personable relationships with our clients, not what you get from a big firm. So basically, we're looking here to try and differentiate ourselves in one way or another. And now hopefully you've done that overall for your brand anyway, in order to stand out. And that will be easy for you to then talk about. So next we're asking about what is the tone of voice. Now for you, it's probably going to be slightly formal yet relatable. And you then looking at what type of writing grade level do you write at. So most of the world is reading and writing at a 5th grade level. I imagine a law firm, you probably want to look a little bit more sophisticated than that. So let's call it, we write at a 7th grade level. Now this is a little hack for using ChatGPT or any of the models, is telling it what grade level to write at. When you do that, it kind of removes a lot of the fluff that you see in a lot of the outputs produced by ChatGPT. If you give it tighter parameters on brand voice guidelines and your writing grade level, that's when you start to get some better results. Great. Now, what makes your offer and campaign unique? Why should your customers choose you. We have helped over 1,000 people plan their estate or with their estate planning. We have 300 5-star reviews. The final one is then asking for any specific IP, I would call it. So like when you're explaining something to them, you might have a different model of how you explain that, or a framework or a system or something like that. Again, that's another good way to differentiate yourself and to put that into your sales process. If you don't have anything, which I'm not going to add into mine, then you can just write none. Now what it's going to do is it's going to start to create that report of the things that we need to focus on when we're actually creating the template itself, when we're creating the headlines for the website, when we're creating maybe different articles to send traffic to that landing page or that template, or even our advertising. So the first one here are our pain points. Overwhelm and uncertainty. That's probably going to be definitely what a lot of people are feeling. Fear of missteps. So when they're gone, they want to make sure that there's nothing that they've missed, because they don't want to leave that burden on their family. Discomfort in family discussion. So again, I alluded to that in the actual process itself, but it's expanded on this for us. Once we're happy with that, what I would do now was I would take that, put it into a Google sheet or a strategy sheet, wherever you're planning for this particular campaign. Take those 3 pain points. If you need to change them, if you think there's anything else you could add, then you could do that. Once you've done that, then just click yes to continue. And now it's going to move on to toward and away from motivators. So people aren't always running away from pain. They're actually toward motivators that people want to get to as well for basically everything that people want. Now, for most people, away from motivators or pain points are absolutely the biggest drivers, but not for everybody. So if we can use both in our campaigns, then we can make sure that we're speaking to the largest range of our audience, or the largest part of our audience, and we're not leaving anybody out. So we've got away from motivators here, which is the fear of the legal mistakes, avoiding family conflict, and then preventing financial mismanagement. And then the toward motivators of what people are seeking are securing their family's future, peace of mind, and then professional guidance as well. So again, happy with all of those, I'll take them, move them into the strategy document to hand off to your team or to your agency. And now we'll just go into the final part here of the insight report. And it's basically just a few extra things to think about. And if you can appeal to these as well inside your campaign, then it's going to actually help quite a lot. So the first one here is common phrases or angles you may want to avoid. So basically we're looking at, okay, what's everybody else saying? How can we be a little bit different? So secure your legacy. I hear that all the time. Plan for your future. Hear that on every single commercial I've ever seen about law firms, I think. Avoid family disputes. So yeah, there may be some that you wanted to try and find different angles for when you're actually communicating in your marketing. Social influencers. So what else do they need to see? They need to see client testimonials. Absolutely. If you've got 300 5-star reviews, then scatter them throughout the template that you're creating, or the cheat sheet that you're creating, and also on the page, so that when people are starting to get into that buying decision mindset, they can actually see, they can relate to some of the stories that they see in those reviews as well. Community involvement. I talked there that there was a family-owned firm. So how are you getting involved in your community? And that's a great way to show your brand and show that when you say you're family-owned, you're actually supporting the community as well. Any expectations and preferences. So clear information, jargon-free. This is a big one when it comes to especially industries like for law firms, is that we tend to use certain types of jargon in our marketing that a lot of the public don't really know about. So if you were to explain it to a 5-year-old, how would you write all of your marketing materials, like the thought process that you want to be on? And then personal touch. So they value a personal connection and reassurance from professionals who understand the unique situations. My question would be is, when you receive this lead, how can you treat that lead differently to everybody else out there? Maybe it's a personalized voice note that you send to them, or personalized video. There's so many easy ways to send videos now, just over email or over text message. So how can you do those little things that, yes, take up way more time than if it was all automated, but how can you do those things to actually stand out? So again, once you're happy with that, then I would copy all of that into the document and then move that across into the strategy and the planning session, so that your team can now go out and start to create that cheat sheet, the website, different marketing materials, ads that appeal and you showcase all of these particular things. And then that now brings us back to the top, which is inspire your own process. So to recap, we've talked about why it's so important now to build trust with our audience. We've talked about how many different touch points over how long we need with those particular leads and clients in order to get them ready to purchase from us. And then we talked about our report of like, how can we appeal to the emotional triggers, the toward and away from motivators, the pain points, so that we are speaking to the right things that our people care about. People don't want to buy products, they want their problems solved. So how can we appeal to that in our marketing and our sales process as well? So I hope this was valuable. And if it was, then I would love to hear from you of how you're actually going to use this in your particular business as well. For me personally, what we've done now is we have all of these automated workflows that when we're doing a strategy session, we fill in a form. That form then is automated and creates all of the report that I just showed you. So fully automated, it creates the report and then puts that into a table, into our Airtable where we run all of these automations. Once it's done the report, we can then trigger and automate our copywriting for our website, our emails, our ads, our social media. Is all of the copy is fully automated. So what used to take me a day, 2 days, and me and my team a couple of days to create, it is done in, maybe an hour, which is pretty mind-blowing. And when you begin to realize and understand, okay, we can do this for our marketing, but we can also do this for our sales process. We can do this to warm up our leads and use these automations to understand every single customer individually. The limits of what is possible is just, it's simply capped by your own imagination. The way that we can use these AI models like GPT and Claude and others is pretty mind-blowing these days. And this is just a quick little snippet into what is possible. And hopefully it impressed you enough that you want to dive into it a little bit more as well. So I hope you found this valuable. If it was, I'd love to hear from you and hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.